Now, you could say this is just pie in the sky, taken out of thin air. I don't think it is. So I don't know if you heard about this. The Chiefs are one of the teams in the Super Bowl. Yeah, holy crap on a cracker. Yes, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. And you know what that means? Their most valuable player, Taylor Swift, will continue to be a prominent presence in football media. That's right, Taylor Swift. Now, a lot of curmudgeons are annoyed by Taylor Swift. I'm mostly neutral. I don't love the story. I don't hate the story. I'm fine with it, which is never a good position to have on talk radio, to have just in the middle. But I don't really care. I don't think she's been broadcast too much on the actual games. The numbers would bear that out. And the conversation around her, there's a reason behind that, but if you didn't see the latest numbers here, the percentage of curmudgeons, how many people loathe Taylor Swift? So there was a survey done recently all across America, and they claim the magic number is 15%. That 15% of football viewers despise Taylor Swift. And what she has done to the NFL with all the Taylor Swift coverage, perceived Taylor Swift coverage. There are 8% who claim they are less interested in the NFL because of her. A woman sitting or standing in a luxury box eating those little hot dogs, those little wrapped hot dogs. That's a problem. That 8% of people said, I'm done. I'm out. All right, so let us discuss the question on this one. Why did Taylor Swift become such a firebrand for NFL fans? You say, well, that's a small number. 15%, though. If you're in the business of engagement and 15% of your customers are upset with your product, that's something to take a note of. All right, that's something to take a note of. So why did Taylor Swift become such a firebrand in NFL circles? I've got Sparkles and Glitter, Howard Stern, and Serpent. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a halftime show without Taylor Swift because she will not be performing. She'll be watching the game. She will not be performing at halftime. So first of all, the answer to the question, why did Taylor Swift become such a firebrand? It's not her per se. It's everything around her. My theory on this is rather simple. After a brief minutes-long Maller investigation on this topic, and we have talked about it sporadically. We did the Taylor Swift Minute when the story first came out. We were like, let's jump on that bandwagon. So my theory is this. It's Swift's large and dedicated group of fans. Large and dedicated. They can't get enough of Taylor Swift, right? Oh, my. They love their Taylor Swift. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. They're called Swifties. Most of us know that, right? The bubonic plague. That is the Swifties. And the Swifties, what has happened here, and I don't want to be overly dramatic. I'm, of course, now going to be overly dramatic. The Swifties have invaded the sovereign land of the NFL. They've come across the beaches of the National Football League. It is a hostile takeover, and they're uninvited guests. They're uninvited. This is a species that is invasive to the NFL in the eyes of those that loathe Taylor Swift. It's her fans. And these interlopers couldn't give a rat's ass about the actual football. They couldn't tell you the difference between a football and a cantaloupe. But they're there for Taylor. They're there because they're Swifties. This is the I get this. I have guys that do overnight radio. I got people calling me up, not calling me, they're emailing me, complaining. One of them, the Fry Daddy in Pennsylvania, he gets really upset when I mention Taylor Swift. Why are you doing that? Don't mention her. All this stuff. And so you've got this invasion by this invasive group of fans, the Swifties, and they're intermingling amongst the NFL fans, the traditional NFL fans. And so football fans know how this works. This is an existential threat to the NFL. Just like analytics are a threat to the NFL. More on that later. But it works this way. Years ago, and I'll use analytics as an example. So years ago, the nerds entered sports. They started in baseball. And what do the nerds do? They've ruined baseball. Now you have starters that go one inning, bullpen games. You've got platoons here, there, and everywhere. You've got the weird Frankenstein lab in Tampa with the Rays as an example. And that started with the Athletics, the trying to find an edge, and then it spread, and Tampa did it. But it was only for the teams that were cheap. They couldn't spend the money or didn't want to spend the money. And then it spread to the other teams. And then the big market teams did it, like the Dodgers and the Red Sox. They did it. And now everyone's doing it, right? But it started out harmless. It was just all Moneyball. It's harmless. And Tampa did it. Milwaukee messed around with it. And now everyone's doing it. And the same thing is going on in football with analytics. And we'll talk more about that. But as far as Taylor Swift is concerned, is this a deja vu situation where you open the door? The concern from the feedback I've gotten, the concern is that you allow the Swifties to put down a flag when it comes to the NFL. And that is going to lead to sparkles and glitter being added to the NFL uniforms. They'll have floral patterns in the end zone. That's all coming. That Taylor Nation, the friendship bracelets will be handed out to every man, woman, and child that attend an NFL game. It's coming. I'm telling you. All right, now, the second part of this, do you believe the NFL fan hate, the number 15%, according to a recent survey, do you believe that number is legit? Is it higher or lower? So I think it's about right. I would say it's actually a little higher than 15% based on what we get doing sports radio. I would say it's higher. I would also say it's the vocal minority of the people that are upset. It's usually like middle-aged dudes complaining, that kind of thing. Normally that. I mentioned I'm mostly neutral on Taylor Swift, that based on the data that we get, I can tell you based on what I know from the television world, Benny versus the Penny, which has one more episode next week, that we've been encouraged by the people that produce that show to mention Taylor Swift. We've mentioned her name. I think we mentioned her name 3 or 4 times during the NFL season. Now, why were we encouraged to mention Taylor Swift? Because there is a spike in engagement when it comes to Taylor Swift. And the same goes for the radio show, podcast downloads, the data shows. You mentioned Taylor Swift. There's some kind of Taylor Swift commentary, and people search out news about Taylor Swift, and you get more podcast downloads and things like that. And so it works out. Now, who are these people that are actually listening and watching the content? I don't know who they are. Neither do you. You don't know who they are. But the numbers do indicate that there's more people tuning in. The NFL will claim that because of Taylor Swift, there's more Gen Zers and millennials that are paying attention to the NFL and consuming it more. But are they really watching the games? Are they really watching? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people who are younger don't even watch NFL games anymore. They're like, I'll just get the highlights on the TikTok or the Instagram or whatever. I'm good on that. But in a way, the crowd that hate Taylor Swift, it's the Howard Stern effect. I do believe it's the Howard Stern effect to a degree. Now, before Stern went woke back in the day, when he had his fastball, didn't become Mr. Softy, Howard was the king of media, right? And he was the king of radio, what I do for a living. It was amazing in the 80s and 90s. And they had done research, market research, which is what all radio, even to this day, they love their research. So the numbers indicated, they called it the Howard Stern effect, that people that hated him listened longer. So I would say people that don't like hearing about Taylor Swift or seeing her on an NFL broadcast will actually watch the broadcast more so they can see CBS cut to a shot of Taylor Swift so they can be upset about her being on television, as opposed to those that are neutral about Taylor Swift or those that like her who don't really, it's like, we like her. Okay, she's there. We get it. By the way, CBS claims they showed Taylor Swift for how long during the game in Baltimore? 44 seconds. They claim that she was on television 44 seconds. They showed crab cakes and aquarium B-roll. More. Combined, it got more airtime. A shot of fish swimming and what happens to crabs when they get served up at a restaurant in Baltimore got more attention than Taylor Swift. So, according to the numbers. All right, final thought. We're going to pivot away from that. There's this headline out of Jersey that caught my attention via Mobile, Alabama. It's been a good week for NFL Nuggets because a lot of the big shots and freeloaders running up their first-class airfare and their expense accounts in Alabama. No NFL team in Alabama, although Alabama's Crimson Tide with Nick Saban were kind of like an NFL team, but he's gone now. So Joe Schoen, who's that? That would be the GM of the Giants, Joe Schoen. He spoke to reporters at the Senior Bowl in Alabama, and he said the Giants view Daniel Jones as their starter as long as he recovers. As long as he recovers. He's got an ACL injury, and he suffered that midway through the regular season, but the Giants are saying they support him. So the Giants showing more public support for Daniel Jones. Do you believe said support? No. So Joe Schoen was slithering around the microphone like a mythological two-headed serpent. Because while he did say that Danny Dimes, Vanilla Vic, will be the starter for the Giants, he also, in the next breath, said the Giants will consider drafting a quarterback. I believe they have the 6th pick, if I'm right, as I understand. I think they have the 6th pick in the NFL draft coming up here in April. So Daniel Jones, who the Giants were fools to give the contract to in the first place, but they made that mistake after knowing the guy can't play, and yet they gave him the contract. So now they're stuck with him for another year at least, although they could always eat the contract. You can always get out of the contract. But the clock, the doomsday clock, is a-ticking. The Giants, will they make another mistake regarding a guy that they drafted just because he kind of acted and spoke like Eli Manning? And it's hard to believe that Daniel Jones, who was a doppelganger of Eli Manning, is a lesser version of Mr. Average Eli Manning. Shocking.